Hey, 740D, it's Dr. Zitzman. We're starting into week 3, and that means that we are going to crack into the dilemmas that you'll write about for your papers. So I wanted to just start by unpacking the initial part of that. In your discussion boards this week, one of your prompts is to write about the ethical dilemma that you think you're going to write about in your papers. This is just a chance for you to kind of briefly summarize that dilemma, and I will offer feedback to everyone through Blackboard on the dilemma you name in that discussion board. Be sure in the discussion board to describe very quickly both the situation and what you think the core conflict is. This can be done in 1 or 2 short paragraphs. It does not need to be long, but I want to see that you're kind of grappling with the heart of the dilemma at this stage, and I will give feedback again. So whatever you write on and decide for your dilemma then will become the basis for your part 1 paper. So I'm going to pan over to my second screen here and show you, kind of walk through some of the tools you have and what those descriptions of that paper include. So let me share my second desktop. Okay. So in Blackboard, if you go to syllabus and assignments, that folder has a ton of information. We've already looked at a glance in the syllabus. This folder, major assignments and rubrics, is the place to go. So in here, you'll see another folder on ethical model paper assignment. In here is really where I try to keep the most updated content on your papers. So come here and you'll find a few different tools. You'll find this folder that has a description and the rubric, and then you'll also find the final paper shell in APA style. So I've already opened both of those, but I want to review them. The material should be the same. Okay. If you are a person who likes reading text on paper, you've got a large description here. If you're someone who likes a summary of what are, how I'm going to grade, what I'm looking for, here's your rubric. All right. They're one and the same. They sort of unpack the same material in different wording. So the major 3 parts that I'm going to be looking for in this paper include a description of the practice setting. So tell me the name of the agency. You might tell me your role at the agency. Tell me, maybe its mission or how many people it serves. If there's a specific organizational policy that's really important to name, you can name it up front, although there's time for that later on also. But quickly telling me about the setting. The discussion of the practice situation is telling me what has happened that created a dilemma. So this is essentially where you give me a little bit of the case overview. You might tell me about your client. You might tell me about how long you've worked with this person, what their presenting diagnoses are. Maybe you'll tell me about a family system, if the conflict, is around them in relationship with family members, whatever is particularly important. If colleagues are involved, if specific words are said or not, whatever you need to tell me what happened in this situation, now is the time to do it. Again, this doesn't have to be excruciating detail. It just needs to be enough of a summary of a detail that I can understand what's going on in the situation that gets you to a point where you have to make a decision. Like, what do I do when faced with this situation? And then the third part, identification of the ethical dilemma, is really where you tell me about the core conflict. And the core conflict can be where 2 values are in conflict, 2 principles, 2 responsibilities, 2 standards from the code of ethics, but you're trying to compare things that are somewhat alike, right? Service versus competence, integrity versus competence, or something along those lines. Responsibilities to client versus responsibility to colleagues. So those are kind of the larger sections of the code that might be in conflict. So here in this third section, you're showing me that you can look and peel down the layers of what has happened and name why this is a dilemma. What is it that is pulling you in two different professional directions? This is a time for you to really showcase that you, your professional language, and that you can name and frame in terms of our professional code, conflicts, responsibilities, standards, or rights. So that is the rubric. Again, that's really described up here if you prefer wording. And then the last tool I want to remind you of is that APA formatted shell in that same folder. This is a Word document, and it's meant for you to be able to type directly into. It's formatted in APA already, so that all you have to do is really focus on the content as opposed to seriation and whatnot. So you're going to give your paper a title, obviously, and then down here, the yellow is paper part 1. So the yellow is basically what I just described. There's a reminder here to provide a very quick intro paragraph before you go into context. But you'll see again, practice setting, situation, and then the ethical dilemma framed as an X versus Y as a core conflict in some regard. Below that is content for papers 2, 3, and 4. So at the moment, don't worry about it. But what you're going to be focusing on is what is in yellow highlighting. Again, this is a tool for you to be able to use, and it dovetails with that description and rubric that I just described. And this is, hopefully the dilemma that you speak about in your posting will then, I'll give you feedback, and then we'll translate into this paper, which is due next week in week 4. So that's it. I hope that's helpful. If you have questions, please email me or sign up for office hours. But otherwise, I am looking forward to hearing about the dilemmas that you're going to work on throughout the rest of the semester. All right, be well, take care, bye.